I understand a lot of people look at a program like Rutgers and don't see a ton of success over the years, and they say, why is Rutgers in the Big Ten? And there was some news posted on X today from NewJersey.com. I think it's actually NJ.com, an article written about how Rutgers hit a record $78 million deficit in their athletics department in the 2024-2025 fiscal year there. So Rutgers has been in the Big Ten since 2014. They've had a lot of, they've had a good amount of financial deficits that they've hit, but they just hit the record of 78 million this past year. Due to high spending, facilities, coaching, NIL to compete and trying to do all that stuff. And I think that's the part of it not a lot of people are seeing, because you're looking at if you read this article and you go down in the comment section below, which, as always, be careful going in the comment section, but you go down there as everybody's saying, well, Rutgers needs to leave the Big Ten. The Big Ten needs to kick Rutgers out and all this stuff. And I just need to remind people that, yes, Rutgers does have the worst Big Ten football conference record since joining the conference in 2014. They are 22-84 in Big Ten conference games. However, Rutgers also spent a school record $76.1 million on its football program during the past fiscal year as well. So yes, the wins are not stacking up like you might think they would by spending more money, but hello, Nebraska, who has gone through a lot of the similar stuff. They've poured money into that program. They just haven't seen results for it yet. And while that needs to be discussed, and probably there is going to be discussion about Greg Schiano at some point this season if things don't work out for him. And I know a lot of people say, well, Rutgers can't afford the buyout. And I'm not saying that they are going to afford it. I'm just saying you never really know what's going to happen until stuff actually starts happening. That's when you learn, are people willing to make this happen or not? I'm not calling for Greg Schiano's job by any means. I like Greg Schiano, and I think Greg Schiano has been the best coach in Rutgers football history, but it does need to be asked, is he the guy to get it done? Because they are investing a ton of money right now. Now, the past 2 seasons, I think anybody who watched Rutgers and watched them closely could recognize 2 seasons ago, you had a lot of injuries. That was very unfortunate for this Rutgers program, a ton of injuries. And while that's no excuse, that was also the season where they had maybe a cushier, not an easy, but a cushier schedule that could have helped them get to that 8-9 win mark. And unfortunately for them, they just weren't able to get there. They had some tough losses, that game against Illinois a couple of years ago where they lost last second. And some things happened to them that was just very unfortunate for the Rutgers program. This past year, they get one of the most difficult schedules in all of the Big Ten, and they go 5-7. So you tell me, is Rutgers really a bad program if they get one of the toughest schedules in the Big Ten and they're going 5-7? I'm not saying 5-7 is a good record, but if it's one of the worst programs in the Big Ten, you'd think they'd be going, 3-9, 4-8, or something like that. But instead, they went 5-7. They were right outside of bowl eligibility, and they almost got bowl eligible by beating Penn State. Penn State was obviously able to beat them in that game. But I do think that a lot of people are kind of missing stuff here with Rutgers, because they just look at the overarching idea of the Big Ten, the conference, and they don't actually focus in on certain teams. And that's why I think it's so important that you listen to podcasts like the Big Ten Huddle, because we cover every single Big Ten team. We might not put out a video on every single team at every point in time, but we do cover every single Big Ten team, and we're trying to get you content to help you understand what's going on with them. So as far as the Big Ten goes, and other people saying, well, the Big Ten needs to get rid of them, or Rutgers needs to leave the Big Ten to be competitive, that's one of the stupidest things I've ever heard. Rutgers needs its Big Ten membership to provide media revenue, $60 to $70 million annually to them, which is essential for their debt reduction. Leaving would completely eliminate that ability for them to continue to reduce their debt with the large amount of TV money that they're getting. But Rutgers was added for a specific purpose of the New York City and New Jersey media market, boosting their league-wide TV deals. And I think, you say that, and a lot of people get very confused, because many people argue that media markets are becoming obsolete due to the digital streaming and everything else. And, that doesn't do what it used to do back in the day. And while it's true, TV and things like that are changing, digital streaming provides more access for people who want to watch maybe better on-field performance or bigger brands or content quality in terms of, maybe what station or broadcasting station you're watching. People see ratings not just due to geography, but through compelling matchups and national appeal. And if we're being honest here, I love Rutgers, but Rutgers does not have the biggest brand and they don't provide the most national appeal right now. That said, markets are not obsolete, and I don't think markets will ever become obsolete. They still influence potential eyeballs at one of the largest rates in all of TV. They impact local sponsorships and recruiting in populated areas as well. So while streaming does accelerate a shift in value, especially in terms of, TV watching and stuff like that, media markets provide a consistency that the parity of college football is continually challenging. And I think after what we've seen the past few seasons, it would be a mistake to look at somebody and say, well, you're not all that you're not all that good at football, so we're going to knock you out of here, especially for a program like Rutgers, because Rutgers is prioritizing Rutgers football. They are prioritizing their football program financially. If Rutgers was not, prioritizing funding for their football program, I'd be with you. Get him out of here. You don't come into the Big Ten just to take a check and move on. But they're not doing that. Rutgers is spending the 12th most in college football with their operating budget. I mean, go look at Extra Points from Matt Brown. He's done great reporting on this. The 12th most. I'm not saying 12th most in the Big Ten, 12th most in all of college football. In fact, they are 6th in the Big Ten, right behind Penn State, a few million behind Ohio State, Nebraska, Michigan. Schools like that are the schools we're talking about that are investing the most, and Rutgers is right behind them. In fact, Rutgers is spending more. They have more of an operating budget in college football, compared to Indiana, who is 13th. So Rutgers is 12th, Indiana is 13th, and Indiana, when 2 years ago in 2024, when they hired Kirk Cinetti, they were bottom 3 in the Big Ten in win percentage since 2024 in conference games. So we just talked about how Rutgers has the least amount. Indiana was bottom 3 in terms of that 2 years ago. Now they're middle of the pack because they've gone out and they've gone 8-1 this 2 seasons ago and 9-0 in the conference this last season. Now, am I saying that Rutgers is going to have a level up like that anytime soon? No, not necessarily. But what I am saying is that investment is what a lot of these coaches look for. A lot of these coaches don't want to go to a school where the school is not going to invest. Look at Luke Fickell and what they did when they didn't want to fire him. They said, well, we got to invest more money into him. Look at UCLA right now. Bob Chesney took that job because he saw they're going to invest more in this program right now. Aggressive spending is something that a lot of these programs have to do in order to create more revenue and also in order to show their worth to the conference that, hey, we're not just going to sit here and take your checks. We're going to come in and we're going to actually push to try and be as good as we can be, create a better brand, create more compelling matchups. So that way it's not just our geography. Our geography makes sense. Our media market, it makes sense. It's a consistency that you need, but it's also not just what we can provide. You see, Rutgers, they're not just saving the TV money. They are spending and they are trying to win. The Big Ten is going to pay for how well you perform soon. I mean, it's just going to happen. You look at the UC Investments deals, and I know not everybody was on board with the UC Investments deal, and that's fine. I'm not trying to relitigate all of that. But what I am saying is that the UC investment deal showed us that the path forward for the Big Ten is that bigger brands and better competition will earn you more money. And so Rutgers is consistently trying to get to that place. Has it worked out for him? No, not the past few years, but I also gave you reasons why the past 2 years it didn't work out for him. And if something does happen and Greg Schiano gets fired, guess what? It's going to be a more attractive destination for a head coach than a lot of people give him credit for. And Rutgers is going to be able to go out there and try to get a really good head coach. Are they going to get, somebody from the SEC or something like that? No, probably not. But they could get somebody that is like a Bob Chesney or like a Kirk Cinetti who, I'm not putting those same expectations on him, but I am saying if Greg Schiano can't get it done, it's not like what many people would think, which, well, if Greg Schiano can't get it done, nobody can get it done. I think they're going to continue to invest and look at this program and say, we have to continue to try and win more to gain more so we can do this. And if you follow a lot of the stuff, Greg Flugard just did an episode last night about Ohio State is cooking in the Big Ten and how Ohio State is pushing for more funding for themselves because Ohio State knows they are the most consistent program, not just in the Big Ten, but in all of college football. They know that, hey, we are not a type of program that's going to drop off. Right? Indiana had a huge boost here lately, and that's fantastic, and that's great for them. But it's just been lately, right? Michigan had their huge boost in 2023, but they've fallen off a little bit. Still good TV numbers, but there's a reason why Ohio State is the most selected program for Big Noon Kickoff, because they bring compelling matchups, they bring TV eyeballs, and they bring good on-field performance. I mean, that is what people want to see, and you have the media market to go with it as well. Ohio, not just Columbus, but like Dayton, all these other places around Columbus, Ohio are hungry, are starving for football, and they're going to watch. And so you look at all this put together. Is Rutgers going to be kicked out of the Big Ten? Heck no. They're not going to be kicked out of the Big Ten anytime soon because Rutgers is trying to win. Rutgers is financially investing in their program and everything else around it. Has it worked out for them the past 2 years? No, unfortunately it's not. But does that mean that it's never going to work out for them? I don't think so. I think Rutgers at some point is going to start winning more football games, especially if they continue to match this investment that they've showed us the past few years. Are they going to win the Big Ten? No, I don't think so, but maybe. I mean, Indiana did, and we saw how that happened. Are they going to get to 8-9 wins? I could see it happening. Are they going to get to 10 wins? I could see it happening. I think this Rutgers program is primed to do some big things at some point. I think Greg Schiano can be the guy to get it done. We'll see if he does. But overall, this Rutgers program wants to win, and they're spending like it as well. So please do like, subscribe, especially if you're a Rutgers fan and you understand what I'm getting at here. I know a lot of Rutgers fans are frustrated with the program. I'm not trying to make you think the program is some juggernaut or anything like that. What I am trying to tell you is that the program is trying to win. They are not just sitting on their hands and saying, well, if we get killed by 40, we get killed by 40. It is what it is. They're out there trying to find good recruits. They're out there trying to hire good coaches. And really, honestly, the biggest indicator will be what happens with this defensive coordinator hire. What happens with this defensive coordinator hire will show us the level of investment Rutgers has. Because if it's just Greg Schiano calling plays and they hire some dude that doesn't really do all that much, then yeah, I might need to eat my words on this video. But I believe they are going to go out and try to make a big hire here. Does that mean they go after a Matt Patricia type? No, not necessarily. But that does mean that they're going to go out and try to hire somebody for this job that's going to do a good job. That is more than just, kind of nickel and diamond and stuff like that. Are they going to pay $300 million, $3 million plus or anything like that? Who knows? I don't think so, but I do think that you're going to see a good amount of investment from this Rutgers program because the defense was unacceptable last year. And I think Greg Schiano knows it was unacceptable, and he knows his path forward is not to hire somebody so he can call plays. I think he knows that he has to hire somebody good, and I think Rutgers is going to back him up and try to make that happen because you don't become 12th in college football in operating budget just by accident. It's very much so on purpose. Are they losing a bunch of money? Yeah, they are. But you got to spend money to make money, and it's just a matter of time before Rutgers starts making that money.